Hi, welcome to the Power Wheelchair Comparison, where we are going to check out the top power wheelchairs on the market today.
My advice to someone who's looking for a chair is that your chair is an extension of your body. So it's going to get utilized a lot, probably a little banged up. And so in my experience looking for the chair, I really wanted something that was durable and useful versus something that was flashy and exciting. Maybe that's just an extension of my personality. I'm not a flashy person, but it was important to me to recognize that the chair is not a piece of furniture, it's a piece of myself. So it's got to fit who I am and what I need.
There's the catastrophic event itself, the spinal cord injury. Then there is you're in the hospital, you've, as you said, realized that you're a high quad, you're going to have some type of mobility equipment to go home. So there's the evaluation, there's the fit, so where you would work with someone at NuMotion, an ATP, to work with the medical team. There's the order process, and then there's the final delivery. So obviously we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on the event other than it's happened and you found yourself in some type of referral center or hospital. The next step, the eval, is, and really our job, it's a great time to sort of talk about what ATPs do and what our job is. So what we do at that point is we work with your medical team. So you'll have a physiatrist or a physician that specializes in rehab medicine. You'll have a physical therapist and an occupational therapist. And you'll see one of our people, which is an assistive technology provider or an ATP. Our ATP's job is to take everything that the medical team says about function, about outcomes, about mobility, about different abilities, and take everything that they're saying and match that up with equipment. So for every power chair we put out, there may be anywhere from 6 to 8 different manufacturers on that chair, and it's the ATP's job to say, okay, every single person that we come across is different. There's a lot of people that can be high quads, but every single injury presents itself differently. Every body type's different. Every level of injury has different effects. The way that people's bodies respond to that is different across the board. And so the function of the ATP is to work with the medical team and say, okay, here's the best equipment that we can provide that's going to help you get home, be functional, and be independent and accomplish the goals you want to accomplish. And that's the fit part of the process. So that's where we bring in different types of chairs, different types of cushions, headrest, different manufacturers, and we try to figure out, okay, if we take A plus C plus B plus X, we get a really good seating system that really accomplishes what we want to accomplish in order for you to go home. And there is so we've got the event, we've got the eval, we've got the fit, and now comes probably the toughest part, which is the order processing piece. So we take the letter of medical necessity, because one thing that is consistent across all the payers is they pay based on medical necessity. So every piece of equipment that's provided, everything we put on the chair has to be justified medically. So we take all of that documentation and all the rules that you got to go through to make sure the documentation is presented correctly, and we submit that to the payer. The payer comes back to us, and then is the delivery, the fit, and the education. So we get all the different products, we put those together. We come back to the hospital, we re-engage with your medical team, we sit down, we make sure that everything we hope to accomplish, we're now accomplishing when we see it in person. And then we provide the training and that type of stuff, so that when you go home, you're comfortable using it, you know how everything works, you know how it's supposed to work, you know how to troubleshoot. If something comes up, you know who to call.
Not only should you listen to other people's experiences, but actually get in the chair itself and see how it moves, how it feels, how it, actually works for your own needs.
NuMotion sent someone out to evaluate me, which I hadn't had done since junior high or high school. I'd been using the same chair for a long time. And she started to ask me a lot of questions about how often do you use your chair, what do you use your chair for, what do you value in terms of mobility versus aesthetics. Mobility was very important to me. Ease of use was very important to me. And so we went through a list of questions.
I have quite a few customers that they love their chairs, and they'll use their chair until there are no parts available, or we're not able to repair them because they're so used to their chair. Actually, they're used to the way their chair drives, so they know how to cut the corners, how to go to bathroom, how to go to specific room, how to maneuver. That's why it's very difficult for them, even though the newer chair may have more features, better electronics.
And as a young ATP, it's easy to be like, dude, there's so much great stuff out there. There's this new technology and you can do this and I can put you in this. And almost without fail, every single time people would be like, no, you don't understand. I want this chair. I want to give you the serial number. I just want you to do this chair over for me. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out why it was. It was sort of an aha moment. And what I finally got was that when you go home in a wheelchair, that wheelchair becomes a part of your life, right? How you drive your vehicle, where your hand controls are set up, where your counter height is, how you reach your toothbrush, how you transfer into the tub. And it became such a integral part of their life that even changing that a half an inch or putting the wheels 2 or 3 inches forward could really change their ability to be independent. And the longer you're in a wheelchair, it seems that the more structured that becomes, the more you become, for lack of a better term, dependent on that setup and that configuration. So for me, I guess the very first thing I would say when you're coming in to look for your second or third chair is, if what you have isn't broken, I would say don't fix it. Unless there is an issue behind, hey, listen, my skin is not what it used to be. My cushions, I'm having troubles with wounds. I've never had breakdown before, but I've been injured for 30 years, and suddenly I've got a stage 2 or stage 3 wound that we can't seem to get control of. Then it's time for some type of intervention, right? Where changing out the product or doing something different may be the best option. But if what you have is set up and doing what you want it to do, my advice is, hey, let's stay as close to that as we can.
I've seen people 18 to 20 years using a chair, and when that chair broke, we couldn't fix it anymore. That's when they started using or thinking about getting the new chair. And sometimes it's a bad thing, because when the time comes for them to get the new chair, then they forget that it's a process, and that process could take sometimes 3 months, 6 months, 1 month. Of course, that depends on their issues that they have. So it is important for the end user, when they see that a lot of the parts are not available, think about getting the new chair. Make that transition.
Transportation provided by Braun Ability. Locations provided by Illuminate Studios. The Power Wheelchair Comparison Web Series, brought to you by the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation and Gold Pictures.